Start of the last trip in the Pajero. 5k's out of town, and we've had to call Shane to come and do a manual DPF burn because the DPF is apparently clogged up. I don't know if this happens in the Pages a lot. This is my first time. So we got the DPF light flashing on the dash. We're already about 2 hours behind schedule on this trip, so we'll just see what happens. Hopefully after this manual burn's done, it'll be sorted.
Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. This is day one of my trip with Dan from Out There with Dan. So check out Dan's channel. He does some great cooking and camping videos and some great product review videos as well as trip videos. So check out his channel. There's a link down below. You get to see a bit more of Dan on this trip. So we actually met up at Bark Hut Campground, which is just south of Tambo Crossing here, that you can see on the screen now. And we headed north up the Great Alpine Road to a place called Glen Shira, which is where Haunted Stream Track starts. So you can see the mark on the screen there where I've marked that in with the blue arrows. That is Haunted Stream Track. Been on my list to do for a while, has been closed for some time. If you've seen older videos of the Haunted Stream Track, you've probably seen where it has looked like quite a difficult track. It's not so much like that anymore. So we started down here at Glen Shira. So the first section is across private property. There's a couple of gates. So obviously, as always, leave the gates the way you found them, which is generally closed. Stay on the marked track on the private property. And you head along. It's quite scenic. A lot of the early part of the track, you're quite elevated from the river. And you zigzag your way along the ridgeline here, as you can see. First little crossing of a side stream here. There's a few little tributaries that you cross over. And as you get into this later section here, you do find that you start to cross the stream quite a number of times. Now, I have heard that the number is 59. I honestly lost count. Really scenic track. Just amazing scenery through there, and not an overly difficult drive. It has been repaired and graded recently prior to reopening. And there's a number of side tracks that are probably good fun to explore as well. As you can see, the track wends its way along the haunted stream here, and you cross over and back and forth apparently 59 times, and it ends at Dawson City, which is a great camp spot right on the river. So look, each one of these stream crossings is just about a postcard opportunity in terms of look and feel. So highly recommend this track. Without any further ado, guys, let's get stuck into it.
Hi everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and start of another trip. So here at Bark Hut's campground, just south of Tambo Crossing, meeting up with Dan from Out There with Dan this morning. Just cooking up some breakfast while I'm waiting for him. Bit of an overcast kind of day today. So this campground's just off Collins Track, pretty close to the Omeo Highway. You can probably hear that truck going past. Yeah, we're tackling Haunted Stream Track today, so looking forward to that. Cracking spot here. There's the no river crossing, just a causeway across the river, but the river is literally just right there, and the main camping area is just up there. There's a few people up there, so I pulled into this little side camping spot here. You can see there it sort of continues down around the corner. There's probably a few other spots here. I better get back to cooking breakfast. That bacon's going to be well done.
So yeah, it wasn't too long after that, guys. Dan caught up with me. That's him there in the Grey Dingo 90 Series Prado, and we're on the road and heading north to the start of the Haunted Stream Track. So been so looking forward to doing this track since I first saw some videos and heard about it number of years ago, but it has been closed for the last couple of years. As I said in that intro, you will find that the track conditions are a lot better now. Parks have done an awesome job there remediating that. Most of the crossings have had new gravel and rocks put in, so it was actually a really easy drive. I'm not sure that we actually went into low range at all on the entire drive.
Just here at the start of the haunted stream track near Tambo Crossing. Gate up there where at the start of it crosses private property. There's a nice big area here to air down. So I've just finished airing down the padge, and there's Dan from Out There with Dan, and he's trying out his Camp Boss self air down, I forget what you call them, but watch his video because he's doing a video on them, and he'll tell you all about them. So yeah, just about to hit the track, going to be really interesting. Historically, Haunted Stream was a little bit of a challenging track. What I've heard lately is it's recently been graded, so we'll find out. There's something like 50 river crossings, so who doesn't love a good river crossing? So yeah, we're just about to get into it. Let's go.
So yeah, as you would have seen in the thumbnail when you clicked on this video, 50 plus, not saying exactly how many, but there is definitely more than 50 river crossings along this track, which is pretty awesome. And now it does start off pretty easy and pretty tame. You've got a gate to open here as you enter onto the private property, and another one not too far away. So yeah, make sure you leave the gates the way you find them and take note of the signs there. Private property is not for shooting or gathering firewood or spotlighting. Let's abide by all those rules, guys, so that these tracks stay open. And likewise, whatever you bring in with you, take it out with you. Let's not leave rubbish behind on the tracks, and give anyone a reason to close more tracks. So Dan's just coming up to start the track as well, having finished airing down the bottom there. As I said, it's a nice easy start here. First gate right at the start of the track basically. And you realise straight away once you leave that initial area where the gate is, just how much contour there is on the land through here, and it is a little bit of a indication of what's to come. The first 9 kilometres of the track, you get teasers of the stream, but you're not actually there. All the crossings are in the second half of the track after you pass Stirling. As you're crossing the private property here, you do get some magic views across that part of the high country where you can see where you're going and what you're heading towards, and just whets the appetite for what's ahead. We're just coming up here on the second gate where you leave the private property. And Dan generously volunteered to jump out and open and close this one for us both. Always good travelling with people that have got a sense of humour. So yeah, we're heading into the bush basically here. It's just coming up here on Con's track on the left hand side, one of the side tracks that deviates off the Haunted Stream track. Looks like a steep start to that one. It's a bit of a ridgeline track. Parallels this part of it anyway, the Haunted Stream track for a little bit, and you could actually get back to the Haunted Stream track further along. That's not for today. and yeah, we were making our way along, and this first section is not what I was expecting. Typically the footage you see from Haunted Stream Track is all about down in the river, so I wanted to include this, as I always do, guys, try and show you the whole track. So I definitely wanted to include this initial section here, where you're actually sort of driving up on the side of the ridge, where the track's been cut into the hill, with like a lot of high country tracks, with a decent sized drop off on one side. This is our first little hill here. Wasn't super steep, enough that it's there, but certainly not super steep. And as you can probably tell by the speed I picked up there, I hadn't dropped into low range. I wasn't going to bother just for one little hill. A little bit rocky, but look, nothing too difficult. And the grey dingo is making short work of it there as well. So you can certainly maintain a pretty reasonable pace on this first section of the track, that's for sure. It's in really good condition, and I would expect that it would stay this way most of the time throughout the year. You're up away from the river, so there's no need for it to get soft. Maybe the odd spring like this section here must be affected by a local spring, but generally speaking, I think you're gonna find this in good condition. The river is just down to the right there. If we, as you can see from the text on the screen, if you look out the driver's window at this point, you certainly can see the river down there, and you're just wondering how much further we're going to have to drive before we get to the river. When the track is called the Haunted Stream Track, you kind of, the anticipation's all about getting to the river, isn't it? At least it was for me, and I kept wondering, how long am I going to have to drive on these ridges and on the side of the hill here, and I can see the river, but I'm not there, not in it. I want to get doing some river crossings, and there's no shortage of those on this track, that's for sure. But yeah, we keep working our way down, and we've got some water here, but this is more of a puddle. This is not actually a haunted stream crossing. Maybe one of the little tributaries that feed into it, perhaps, but definitely not a crossing. So something you will see in this video is I have labelled and counted all the crossings, so as we go through the video you'll be quite sure of exactly how many crossings there are. And you can see here how much work's gone into cutting that track in, with the rocks there on the left hand side of the track, and a bit of a view of the river there on the right hand side. And I just dropped the Sony out the driver's window. You can see how close to the edge we are there. That's the haunted stream down there, so we're getting closer. Now, at this particular time when we're here, this was late April, early May. The water levels were down reasonably low. From what I understand, it can get a fair bit deeper than what we've experienced on this trip, but certainly for us at this time, none of the crossings were particularly deep or dangerous or difficult. Certainly not difficult because they've been well repaired by parks, stabilised. But there's the haunted stream, looking forward to getting down there and amongst it. And sections of track like this, there's certainly not a lot of room to overtake oncoming traffic. You definitely have to find your spot. Luckily these sections tend not to be too long. And again, we've got a little tributary here that actually feeds down into the haunted stream. So also not a haunted stream crossing. but at least we were getting the tyres wet, and it was just a small taste of things to come.
So there's Dan up there. And this is one of the little tributaries of the haunted stream that he'll be crossing when he gets mobile. I think he's just taking some footage up there of the river.
And yeah, nice rocky little crossing here. As I said, not actually the haunted stream, so again, we're not counting this one. We're going to count them all, but only the actual crossings of the haunted stream. Again, I can imagine a different time of year, that little crossing there might have a bit more water flowing through it. And look, I thoroughly recommend this track to everybody. It's definitely, it's been on my list of tracks I've wanted to do for a long time, and now having done it, I want to go back and do it again. It's a really fun drive. It's not difficult. You're not going to break anything, and it is just super scenic. The video footage does not do it justice. And as you can see there, this track is seasonally closed, so worth keeping in mind. And here we are at our first actual crossing of the haunted stream. They all vary, they're all different, they're all very scenic. Nice long crossing, this one, and you can see there the rock work that's been put in to stabilise the bottom of this exit. I can imagine with long convoys, large number of vehicles coming through, the bottom section there would get quite wet and would be prone to rutting out and becoming a reasonably difficult exit there. Dan bringing the grey dingo across that same crossing. As you can see, not a difficult crossing, but nice to actually wet the tyres in the haunted stream. So that's number one down. As you can see on the screen there, the haunted stream track is on the left, which is of course what we've taken, and to the right there is the Stirling track, which will ultimately take you up to the Angora Range Road and not where we're heading today. Now, as I was saying before we got to that crossing, guys, thoroughly recommend this track. Cannot recommend it enough. This was a really nice track to drive. So scenic, so enjoyable. You know, really kept your attention the whole way. You do have to drive it. It's not something where you're going to get on autopilot, because it twists and turns quite a lot, and you never know what's around the next corner. Yeah, look, Dawson City, which is where we'll end this video, is a fantastic campground right on the river as well. So yeah, look, the condition the track's in at the moment, you can definitely get camper trailers in there. Don't know that I'd take a van, but you could definitely get camper trailers in there. Somebody would probably take a van coming in this way, but you can see here just the amount of vegetation down along the river. So green and lush, the tree ferns. It's just a really scenic track, and there's over 50 of those, so that's number 2. Reasonably tight, a lot of the sections of the track, with the vegetation sort of up to the edge of the track. So, you know, if you do run into oncoming traffic, you'll probably have to pick your spot. And that's number 3 down. As I said, certain sections of the track, the vegetation's fairly tight, and keep in mind this has been recently remediated. So imagine what it was like beforehand. And lo and behold, we're back at the haunted stream again for number 4. You can see how quickly, once you get down in the valley here where the river actually is, the track just crisscrosses and crisscrosses this stream repeatedly. And not surprisingly, straight into the next one. So very densely vegetated here, lots of ferns and other foliage. I'm not a vegetation person, I don't know what they are, but they look nice. Looking down there, you can see some pretty tall tree ferns, just amazing, almost sort of prehistoric sort of looking. Just a really nice spot. I'd love to come back and do it again, maybe when the water levels are up a little bit, and see what it's like then. From what I've heard, it can be reasonably challenging, but I think a lot of that was to do with the track conditions at the time. Hopefully, now the work's been done, as you can see, a little bit of a dry tributary there. Now the work's been done to the track, it'll stay this way for some time. A little bit of a steep climb just out of this section. It's only a short one though. And that's the thing, there's no really big rock steps, big long difficult climbs or anything like that on this track. All the terrain is pretty manageable, and that's Moomba Spur track there on the left hand side. And coming across to crossing number 7 here, which has got a little island almost in the middle of it. Nice long crossing, this one. Not super deep, although just past the end of the crossing here, there's a fairly deep little pool, just sort of straight ahead of where the car is there, or off to the front left corner. I just pulled up there to film Dan as he comes across. And that was a good opportunity for us to swap around and have Dan take the lead for a little while. Neither of us have driven this track before, so really didn't matter who was in front. This is probably one of the biggest hills on the track, anywhere on the track, and as you can see, it's been fixed up. And the Padge has made short work of that, so you can see the amount of work that Parks have done to get this track in good condition and reopen. One of the advantages of having somebody in front of you is they serve as a bit of a guide for where the track's actually going. And as you can see here, it is a pretty twisty track at times. And a lot of the time you've got that barrier of vegetation just on the side of the track, and the river's literally right there just on the other side. And that's 8 of them already. So, like, I always thought the Crooked River had a lot of river crossings, but this is just nuts. So if you love river crossings and you prefer them not to be vehicle swallowing, this is probably an awesome track to check out. As I said, the water level, I believe, is fairly low when we've driven this, and it is a seasonally closed track. So we drove this, as I said earlier in the video, we drove this late April, early May, so just before the seasonal closures took into effect. And by the time this video comes out, the seasonal closures should be ending. I'm pretty sure early November is when this track reopens. So depending exactly when this goes live, it should be fairly close around that time. So yeah, as you can see on the screen, that's 10 river crossings already. Each just super scenic, different from the last one before it. Yeah, just nuts. And most of them have been in the last sort of kilometre or so. As I said, the vast majority of these crossings are on the second section after the Stirling Old Town site. And this second section of the track is about 15 kilometres long, and that's where the majority of the 50 plus river crossings are situated. And if you enjoy getting out in the Aussie bush and seeing it, as I said earlier in this video, I can't recommend this track enough. I enjoyed driving it, I enjoyed being there. You can see here just on the left hand side where they've done some bank stabilisation works to reinforce the track and the bank. All the way along there was different little sections like that where you could see evidence of the work that's been done. So it would have taken quite some time. I mean, just the logistics of getting work crews and equipment into a track like this, it's great they've put the work in to keep it open and reopen this track, which is a pretty iconic track really. If you do some searches on it, you will find it gets mentioned a lot as a track that people want to drive, and there's probably a lot of videos out there about it. Really cool there with the old tree falling down across the river. Actually cut off at a sensible distance from the road, which is nice to see. But yeah, you almost wonder, you know, would it have been easier just to drive down the river? You can see the view down along the river there on these sort of crossings, like just super scenic. And some of those hills there, you can see they've got a bit of a clay base, so over time, no doubt they're going to rut up a little bit, especially with some rain into them. But hopefully the conditions remain pretty good for the next season or two on this track, and it stays open for everybody to get out and enjoy. Because yeah, that's 15 crossings we've done now at the Haunted Stream track. We started off trying to count them while we were driving, but that just was not going to happen. It's like you got too much going on, particularly when you're trying to film as well, and you're stopping and taking other footage and changing camera batteries, and very quickly, hang on, was that 7, 8, 10, 12? I forget. So luckily I had the camera rolling most of the way along this track, and it is a good solid sort of half day to do this track. Dan met me about 8:30, 9 o'clock, I think. Pretty sure that was the Haunted Stream, not a side branch. Yeah, Dan met me about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We probably started the Haunted Stream track about 9:30, and I think it was about 1 when we stopped for lunch at Dawson's Creek, Dawson City. So check out that view. We just pulled up here at one of the crossings, just to sort of show you some slow footage there. There's Dan. Slow footage of just what it's like. Like it really had almost a rainforest type feel. I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. Almost a rainforest type feel. Very reminiscent of years ago when I used to live in Queensland. Just, yeah, very different to most of the high country. And yeah, I just stuck one of the cameras out the window there to show you what you're not seeing with the forward-facing GoPro. I mean, it's great having it mounted on the vehicle. It really shows the track well. What it doesn't show you is what the view out the driver's side window or the passenger side window is like. And on these crossings, like, you know, you get to the middle of the stream and you'd be like looking out the window and, oh wow, look at that, and almost not paying attention to the exit, which fortunately these are all pretty easy exits in the condition they're in at the moment. But every crossing you got to, you were looking down the river just to see, oh, what's down there, what's that look like? And you know, whichever direction you look, the view's different, either one of them could easily be a postcard. You can see some further work done here by forestry, and that exit had been built up. You saw the dip there of the car as we came off it. You know, just evidence of how much material they've actually put in there to build that exit up and stabilise it. Again, just checking out the view down along the river there. They're not all super long crossings, but they are all crossings of the haunted stream. This one not so much. One of the little side tributaries, maybe a little anabranch or something that's feeding into it, so didn't count that one. So we're not making up the 50 by counting every little puddle that we drive through, only counting the actual crossings. You can see in some of these sections just how densely vegetated it is. And of course, it's not too long before you come to another one, lucky number 20. And even less time before we're around to number 21. And you saw those tree ferns there. You don't often see them that big. It's only out in these natural bush settings that I think I've ever seen tree ferns of that sort of size. And we were pretty lucky that rain held off. Like, it was very grey first up in the morning when we met up, and we're getting ready to start this track. Very grey and overcast, but fortunately the rain held off, and we enjoyed pretty good conditions along this track on the day we were driving it, which was great. And hopefully through seeing this footage you're sort of seeing two things. One, the track is hugely variable, and two, it's very, very drivable, certainly in its current condition. So you know, I'd encourage you all to add this one to your list, and get out there and check it out if you can, if it's not too far away for you. Like, it was a decent drive for me to get down to the start of this one, south of Omeo, starting out from Albury. I had originally planned to camp down at Bark Huts and be there in the morning and just wait for Dan to rock up, but that didn't happen. As you saw at the very start of this video, weird DPF issue on the pads that put it into limp mode. Modern vehicles, hey? Guess what? 76 doesn't have a DPF. Just saying. Check out that view though. Like, I know I'm showing a lot of these crossings. For us when we were there, they just never got old. Every one was a new picture, a new story. And I hope you guys are enjoying that from the perspective of this video. It really doesn't do it justice. You know, as you know, you've got to get out there and check this out. So yeah, I had intended to camp at Bark Hut, but that didn't happen. So I ended up just crashing at Omeo overnight and getting an early start to be there ready to meet Dan in the morning, because I was already late leaving before I had the DPF issue. I guess the saving grace was that happened before I left, not after, or when I was about 5k's out of town. So here we are, almost halfway-ish through the number of crossings. 25 river crossings. And of course, just over the hill is number 26. That's just the brakes, with the discs being, not surprisingly, a little bit wet, and the pads slipping on them because of that. And again, you see all these exits have been built up with some rocks to stabilise them. I'm sure you're stunned to see the next shot, and we're moving into yet another river crossing. And from there on, this one parallels the river for somewhat before cutting across. You can pretty much tell where the river is when you look into the vegetation and you see the line of tree ferns. That's usually some indication of where there's a good water source. And you can see looking down the side there, just amazing with all those ferns overhanging the water. Very sort of tropical, sort of rainforest type feel, at least to me. So if you're one of those people that's seen videos of the haunted stream track and you've thought that'd be awesome to do, but it looks difficult, it looks like I might get stuck, it looks too muddy, it looks, you know, whatever, now's the time. Before it gets back to that sort of condition from the number of people driving it or driving it in when it's wet, now's the time to get out and do this track and check it out. And look, if we all drive sensibly, it'll stay in good condition. It really will. We all know one of the reasons they seasonally close tracks is to mitigate potential damage to the tracks over winter when they're likely to be a bit more waterlogged and a bit wetter. And yeah, 30 plus crossings and going strong. So again, some of these sections like this with the black soil, you can imagine that's possibly going to get soft and maybe a bit rutted over time. Another section here where you can see they've done quite a lot of work. Maybe they're putting some sort of information display in there or something, because they've dug that hillside out quite a lot, and obviously yet to come back and finish some works there. So a huge extent of works that have been done to keep this track open, which is just awesome to see. You know, the parks guys have only got so much in terms of resources available to them, so to see the work that's gone into this track is impressive. Look at that, we're up to 33 river crossings already. I was skeptical, you know, when I'd seen videos saying, you know, X number of river crossings on the Haunted Stream track, or more than 50. I was like, there can't be more than 50 river crossings on one track. It's only, you know, it's only 20 k's a track. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's there. It is absolutely there. And when every time you come around a corner just about and there's another little crossing, it's not hard to rack them up pretty quick smart. But as you can see, like, none of this is difficult four-wheel drive driving. Spent most of the time in high range. I think I had the Padge actually in effectively all-wheel drive mode, so 4 high, no center locker engaged most of the time, because that's all I needed. Honestly, if you had a bit of clearance, a lot of this could probably be driven in its current state in a two-wheel drive vehicle, so you're not going to need a heavily modded four-wheel drive to go and do this track. Any standard four-wheel drive should be able to tackle this track no problem at all. Did get the odd straight section like this, although they weren't super common and they weren't very long. And the other thing, having somebody in front of you, usually once you see the brake lights, it's a bit of an indication that yes, we've got another one of those river crossings coming up. So yeah, look, if nothing else guys, I hope this video inspires you to add the Haunted Stream to your list. You can see there that open area just on the right there, I think that's a beeline, not an actual part of the track that is intended to be driven. You can see this looks like a lot of reconstruction work's been done here. So whether that was the old line of the track or something, I'm not too sure, maybe it was. A lot of work been done here to build this bypass. You can see there that's where the old track or the beeline used to come down, so there's no need to drive that. You can take the route around it just like we did. So yeah, I don't really know whether that was the original line or something people have created just for a bit of fun, but there's no need to drive that. You can just drive around it exactly like we did, stay on the main track and not cause any further damage to the bush. You know, look, a common theme through here was just how densely wooded it was. Like a lot of areas has been affected by bushfires in the past, so a lot of the trees are pretty young, but just super densely wooded. Like every time you're looking ahead, you're just seeing tree trunks everywhere. And as I said, certainly evidence of the bushfires having come through in the last few years. Pretty sure this area would have been impacted by the 2019 bushfires. Good chunk of the state was, so I'd say that's a fair bet. And you can see those rocks there just on the right hand side, so it probably does pay to watch your line a little bit through some of these crossings. You could damage a sidewall on some of them where there are rocks sort of at the edge of the line. And here we are, 40 river crossings. One track, 40 river crossings, and we're still going. And look, guys, I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope it's not monotonous. I enjoyed the trip. I enjoyed editing the video, and I'm enjoying coming back and watching it again and adding my commentary to it, because it was a truly enjoyable track to drive, and I'll do it again, hopefully sooner rather than later. Maybe in January. Come the other way. Thinking out loud, anyway. But I'll be back on this track with the 76, and I think that'd be fun. Some in-cab footage here from one of the other cameras. Again, just showing you some of those side views. Massive big tree down there across the river. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And they just keep mounting up. As I said, there's not a lot of room on this track for overtaking, so I'm not sure how often people drive it in the other direction. It's, you know, I guess like a lot of tracks, you'd find a spot where you could pull over a little bit and they could get past you if you run into people coming the other way. Ironically, I think the river crossings are probably some of the spots where you've got the most space. But the vegetation is just so dense up to the edge of the track that there's just not a lot of spots where you could create an overtaking area. So look, if we do this track again, I'm probably not going to film all 50 river crossings. Once is probably enough for that. 50 plus. But yeah, I definitely think we'll be back, and sooner rather than later, and maybe we'll drive it in the other direction. I think it's always interesting to see what the experience of the driving the track is, driving it one direction and then you turn around and drive it back the other way. It's like it's a completely different track. The obstacles are completely different. Not that this track has much in the way of obstacles. It's just a super scenic, really enjoyable drive through the Aussie bush that I just thoroughly recommend to any and all of you to get out and have a crack at. And yeah, Dawson City's a cracking campground, so to either as a base to start, look at those tree ferns there, they're huge. As a base to start or a spot to finish the track would make an excellent spot. So here we are, crossing number 50. That's rocked around very quickly, hasn't it? Getting pretty close to Dawson City now. So we've hit the 50, the big 5-0. How many more? Well, at least one more. As you can see, look, they're pretty shallow. We weren't even really slowing down a whole lot for most of these because you could just cruise through them. You could see that they weren't super deep. I think that could be different at a different time of year with a bit more water flowing. So that'd be something to keep in mind. And as I said, like the track does twist and turn a lot in different sections. So yeah, not a crossing there, just a little spring or a tributary feeding into the main river. A little bit undulating through here. And you can see here another section where they've done quite a lot of work. They've dug that out and done a lot of stabilisation work here. So obviously some future plans there. Not too sure exactly what the plans are, but obviously the parks guys are going to be back. Possibly that some of that work could have been done through the seasonal closure period. Don't know, but we'll find out next time we drive it. Or if any of you drive it soon after watching this video or soon after this video comes out, let me know. Has work been done in those areas? You can see there another section of the new rock there stabilising the track, and that was common right throughout. Like the whole length of this track, 20 odd Ks, they've done works along most of it at different points to reinforce and stabilise the track and make it firmer. Just cool with all the ferns and the young trees growing there, providing a bit of shade to the track. And here we are just about at Dawson City, crossing number 52. So there you go, 52 crossings between the Alpine Highway and Dawson City of the Haunted Stream track. So this is Dawson City Campground here, nice open campground, nice and level, some good grassed areas, picnic tables, some fire pits built in, ready to go. Cracking spot. And it was definitely time for some lunch.
Lovely setup. It makes getting food ready quick and easy.
So yeah, putting the drifter kitchen to good use in the back of the padge there, and quick walk around the campsite after lunch. A couple of bullet holes there in Dawson City sign. It's a nice big area though. You can see over the back there some more grass in some of those areas, and the river's just down this side. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to support what we do, you certainly can do that. Jump on to buymeacoffee.com/OTBP and buy us a coffee or two. See you in the next video, guys.